This boss is almost completely torn out of the boom on this TLB or backhoe, if that's what you call it. I need to reposition the boss, then weld it and reinforce it. Before aligning the boss, I prepped it for welding by using a grinder and cutting a chamfer on this side of the boom. On the top and bottom side, I used the cutting torch to cut through the cracks for a gap for welding. Once the cutting was complete, I used the grinder to clean all the surfaces for welding. And that's the welding prep complete. Next was aligning the boss. I tacked this square tubing parallel with this top pin. I need something to work from when I align the boss. And if the square tubing is parallel with the top pin, it means the boss should be parallel with the tubing. To get the tubing parallel, I took measurements from it to the center of the pin on both sides of the boom. Once the measurements were the same on both sides, I tacked it to the boom. Next, I put a long pin in the boss. The pin needs to be parallel with the tubing on two axes. To get one axis parallel, the measurement from the pin to the tubing must measure the same on both sides of the boom. On the second axis, I'm eyeballing it. I'm using the tubing in a similar way you would use a square. It's evident the pin needs to go down. So I heated up the side of the boom that was still intact. Then my helper James put a pipe over the pin for leverage and pulled it down. We ended up pulling it too far down. So I made another plan to jack it parallel with a porta pack on this axis and pulled it forward with a ratchet strap to get it parallel on the second axis. Alright, so my measurements are same on both sides of the pin, and my eyeballs also say it's in line, so I welded this side of the boom. I then checked if the welding pulled the pin out of alignment. All was good, so I removed my helpers. Let's double check the alignment. My eyes tell me the pin is still parallel with the tubing, and the tubing to the center of the hole measures the same on both sides. And just for the clever people in the comments, you cannot put a square on the boom, it is tapered. Anyways, I'm happy with the alignment. It's time to straighten the top and bottom portion on the boom. Some heat was needed to soften the plate and knock it down. I'm not too concerned about this being 100% straight. That would be difficult as metal stretches when it bends. And I'm going to be covering this up with the reinforcing plate later on. I repeated the straightening at the bottom of the boom, then got to welding. I filled the gap up, then added a couple extra runs for extra strength. In previous videos like this, I've had comments of people saying the welding will weaken the boom. I've done this kind of repair enough times to confidently say it will be fine. My final task is to now reinforce the boom. I'm not sure of the correct term, but I know these reinforcing plates as fish plates. Once the fish plate was cut out, I drilled 2 holes for 2 bolts that hold a bracket for hydraulic hoses on the boom. Next, I gave the fish plate a slight bend to better suit the profile on the boom. It was now ready to be welded to the boom. I'm going to be honest here. My original plan was to only add 1 fish plate to the top of the boom, but my gut was telling me to add another to the bottom. I listened to the feeling in my gut and made another fish plate for the bottom of the boom. I highly doubt there would have been failure on the boom, but adding the second fish plate gave me peace of mind, knowing the repair was even stronger. Enough about my feelings, it's time to drop the hood and complete the repair. And I was now happy. The second fishtail was welded on. Just a quick clean up with the grinder, and that's the end of the repair. Thanks for watching, guys.